This is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Infinity Summit Group podcast. Today is May 22nd, 2023, and we got another special guest on here today. We'll go ahead and introduce the main guys. I'm Noah.
Xavier. Jesse.
And we got our special guest on here today, Noah. You want to introduce yourself again? This is your fourth time on, right?
Fourth time, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I always love it. It's a good time.
Sweet.
Yeah. Love having you on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're one of the more educational ones, we'll say, that who's not coming from our exact same level, right?
Sure.
So it's very beneficial for us and the listeners, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of positive feedback about you.
Good.
So,
Good to hear.
So we kind of just want to jump right into it. Today, or the first few times we talked about like whole life insurance policies and how those can benefit you, da-da-da-da-da. The next time we talked about real estate investing a little bit and kind of what that looks like, the finer details, which I do want to do a podcast on that a different day of like maybe break down a couple deals. We can post pictures and stuff on
Sure.
under the pod, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But today I want to talk about accredited investors more.
Okay.
So first of all, for the listeners, what is an accredited investor? What do you need to become one? Do you get a seal of approval from the government saying you're an accredited investor now? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, good question. An accredited investor is an individual or a couple who has $1 million net worth outside of the equity of their primary residence, or who makes $250,000 a year as an individual and $350,000 a year as a couple.
So say I have a home that's worth $1 million.
Uh-huh.
It's paid off.
Yep.
So in that case, I'm not an accredited investor. However,
Is that your primary
that's my
residence
primary
or a rental?
That's my primary home.
Then
This is
no.
the one I live in.
Then no, you're not an accredited investor.
So in this case, I take out we'll say a mortgage. I refinance the home, pull out all of my $1 million,
Yep.
and put it into rental properties or other investments. Now I'm an accredited investor.
Correct.
Even though I'm $1 million in debt and have $1 million out there.
Correct.
Fuck
And
yeah.
and basically what they're, and this is just my interpretation of it, or yeah. But basically what they're looking for is, they call them accredited or sophisticated investor. Basically,
Those are the same?
yeah, kind of, but
Okay.
basically what they're saying is you have experience investing, and you can afford to lose money.
Because the average Joe does not ever get to that point of $1 million in net worth. Or we'll say it takes them a long time to get to that point, right?
Right. Well, yeah, the average Joe isn't sophisticated. Like doesn't know how to look at deals, doesn't know how to break them down, doesn't know how to know whether it's a good deal or a scam. And then also, for somebody who has $160,000 in retirement funds, if they lose $50,000, it might be, it could potentially be devastating versus somebody who has $1 million or more losing $50,000. It's not gonna put them in the poorhouse.
Yeah, hopefully not. Huh?
And so that's, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's a protection that's put in place to protect the little guy, air quotes, little guy. Allegedly, yeah. But it also insulates them from taking advantage of some tremendous opportunities out there that wealthy people have come across their desk every day.
So another question is, are those the only two ways you can become an accredited investor, or is there classes you can take, courses, things like that? It only has to do with net worth or income.
It's a financial qualification, period.
Damn. Now, do you get a paper one day that says you are now an accredited investor?
No, not at all. In fact, a lot of the investment opportunities out there that require you to be an accredited investor, there's nobody checking up on you to say whether you filled out the paperwork correctly, or to verify that you are an accredited investor. Some do. Some require letters from either an attorney or a CPA or the like. But a lot of them out there are just saying, "Are you an accredited investor?" And you verify, and on all of them you have to sign a paper saying that you are.
Yeah.
But nobody's verifying you.
So, in theory, you could go and just lie about it.
You could.
That'd be perjury, wouldn't it?
Likely.
Perjury on a contract, probably.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, you could never go after him. You could never, it's like you knowingly lied because here's the criteria to be an accredited investor, and you said that you were.
Right.
So you have no grounds to stand on.
If you lose all your money, then you're toast anyway.
Yeah, it's your...
Or
yeah.
if they run away with it all, yeah, you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, well.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. That's fair.
Who judges if you have $1 million in net worth or not? Like, how do they decide?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It really depends on the investment group that you're actually going to work with. Some of them have forms and things like that you have to get legally signed or legally filled out by a CPA or an attorney, and others are just like, hey, this is a form that you're verifying that you're
Okay.
an accredited investor.
Okay.
So it's self verification.
Interesting.
Some of them.
It just seems like someone could overinflate it for you a little bit or something.
Could.
Maybe not intentionally, but I don't know if that would come back on you or something. If
Yeah, I don't
they
know.
checked and they didn't, you said you were and it didn't count, or they counted lower numbers than
Sure.
the person you had do it for you.
Yeah, it really depends on the deal. There are actually some deals out there where you can, they'll allow a certain number of non-accredited investors to participate. So let's say 70% of the capital has to be raised by accredited investors, and the other 30% doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So there are those deals out there too.
And why would they do that? Is it a tax write-off for them? Is it just them letting the little guy in on the deal?
No,
Like,
it has to do with like regulation and what's allowed. So it is a great opportunity for the little guy to get involved in some of those deals, but that has to do with like actual regulation versus
yeah.
any benefits to the company that's investing.
Do you think people would do it if they had, I don't know, like family that they wanted to invest, but
Mhm.
they had that criteria, so
Yeah.
they allow a few extra or whatever? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do these big deals look like? So, say like, how would you know if it's a deal that you would have to be an accredited investor to kind of go after?
They'll notify you.
Okay.
Like if you come across a deal and it requires you being accredited, you can't even place your money without.
Well, I mean, like, how big are those deals? Like, are we talking about like rental, like buying hotels and like big things like that, or can it be anything from like homes?
Stock buy-ins,
It
homes.
It wouldn't likely be a stock buy-in or a home. It's going to be more of your syndicates, and a syndicate. Let's just back up, define a syndicate a little bit. A syndicate, for the layman, it's essentially, let's just hypothetically say you have 10 people. They all want to pool their money, so they get together. Each of them come up with $100,000. They pool that, so that way they have $1 million to go buy a $3-4 million project. Well, that $4 million project, let's say, is bigger than any one of those individuals could necessarily raise the capital for individually, and so they pool their money and they call that a syndicate. And generally speaking, one of the contributors, one of the contributing partners, is actually running the project.
Okay. And he gets to decide whether you have to be.
It's more of a regulation, more like a government regulation that
Gotcha.
that determines whether you need to be accredited or not.
Gotcha.
Is a syndicate like a legal thing, or is it just what they call it? Like, do they have it under another name, just like an LLC, or is it like a legit, like you would sue a syndicate instead of like a company?
I believe it's more. I don't know,
Okay.
Jess. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that for sure. There's lots of different things that can be syndicated, and I think the syndicate is more. It's not so much like you couldn't sue the syndicate. A syndicate is more of a broad definition of a type of pooling
Okay.
to invest.
Okay, that makes sense then. So it's kind of like in broad terms, a group, like not,
Yeah. And generally speaking, so in that case that I referred to, so those 10 partners get together, or 10 individuals get together, and they each contribute. In that case, you would, and there's generally an LLC created, or a partnership created, and then each in that for instance, each one of those partners would have 1/10 ownership in the partnership or the LLC, and the LLC or the partnership is what actually owns the real estate or whatever the investment might be.
So I guess I was just wondering if an LLC was different than a syndicate, or
No.
if it's just a name difference.
Yeah, it's just because you can have an LLC for anything,
Right.
and it's not a syndicate, and you can have a syndicate and not necessarily have to have an LLC, but they generally do. Well, actually, no. It depends on what the investment is. I've seen them outside. I've seen them outside of LLCs, so it doesn't necessarily have to have an LLC to have a syndicate.
All right. It's more complicated.
Well, just think of like each one plays a different role. The syndicate is simply the group of people getting together, pooling their funds, pooling
Right.
their capital.
Okay.
They generally, in fact, in all instances that I've seen, they create a partnership.
Okay.
And all the individuals own a percentage of the partnership depending on their contribution, because you might have somebody contribute $100,000 and another person contribute $250,000 and another person contribute $500,000.
Right.
And so your percentage of ownership of the partnership would be determined by your capital contribution.
Okay.
The LLC, so let's stick with partnership. So syndicate is just the pooling of money. The partnership itself is the entity that then says, hey, we're going to acquire XYZ asset,
All right.
whether it's a hotel, whether it's, an apartment units, whether it might be mobile home parks, it might be life settlements. Life settlements are life insurance policies that people sell,
Right.
and that can be sold to a syndicate, and this partnership buys them.
Okay.
An LLC would be kind of a separate thing where the partnership might say, hey, we're going to acquire a property inside of an LLC that's owned by this partnership.
Okay.
And the purpose of the LLC is a limited liability company. So it says,
Right.
hey, we're going to limit the liability of anything that happens on that piece of real estate to that LLC or that company. That means if somebody slips and falls on that property, the liability for that slip and fall doesn't follow through back to the partners and back to them individually.
Okay.
So just all these different things, you just have, they all have their different roles depending on the type of investment.
Okie dokie.
Now, with the accredited investors and different investments you can find that way, is there a minimum amount you can put into an investment, or is it just they just require you're an accredited investor and then you decide how much you put in, just depending on the deal?
Yeah, generally, the ones that I've seen, they require a minimum of $50,000 in general.
Mm-hmm.
However, like I said, there's I have seen where they will allow non-accredited investors to come in.
Yeah.
And I've seen those contributions as low as like $30,000, $35,000.
Okay.
Interesting. I
But-
guess.
Well, hang on a minute. That being said, like even $35,000, that's more than most people can come up with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Those are people on their way to become accredited.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So.
That's fair. Now, since the government or anything doesn't necessarily say you're now accredited, I imagine when say you go into a bank to apply for a loan or a credit card or whatever, do you those accredited investors, are they able to like leverage that and say, I'm an accredited investor and I have good credit, give me higher limits, give me a better loan, give me better interest rate? Can you use that in any other way except for just these exclusive deals?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, you gotta think of like a bank. If you walk into the bank and be like, "Hey, I'm an accredited investor," they're gonna be like,
A net worth of
"Whoa, you have $1
$1
million? Yeah,
Yeah.
you have a net worth of $1 million.
They're dealing
Big
with.
whoop! Get in line behind all these other people who have 50, 100 million. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
that's fair.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I suppose it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm aware of. Because you're still, you go to get funding through a bank, you're still qualifying based on your credit or based on the deal, regardless of whether you're accredited or not. They don't give a crap.
Yeah.
At least not to my knowledge.
Yeah. That's fair. That's cool.
Now here's something. You do not have to be an accredited investor to get a substantial loan. A non-accredited investor could go get a $10 million loan.
Just need to have the right asset for it.
You got to have the right
And
asset for it.
plan and all that jazz.
Well, because like commercial real estate, as an example, they base the lending off of the performance of the asset, not off of the individual.
And commercial real estate can be apartment complexes, it can be actual like commercial buildings like warehouses, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that how people get such big loans? Is they put their assets up for collateral? Is that what it is? Collateral?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's say on that $10 million loan, or that $10 million, let's say it's a $10 million deal, and again, regardless of whether you're accredited or not, you can go into the bank and say, hey, I want to take a loan on this deal. And what they're going to do is look at the cash flow of the deal itself, and base your credit worthiness on that. Now it's not going to help if you got all kinds of defaults and bankruptcies and all that stuff, but basically they're looking at the deal, and so they're going to say, okay, the cost of the deal is $10 million. We're going to require, they might say 25% down. Well, in that case, it's $2.5 million. They may say, okay, we require 40% down. And then the terms of a commercial loan are generally different than a residential loan as well. They're not going to be your standard 30, 15-year loans.
Like
it might
7
be
to 10, right?
Yeah, a lot of, as an example, you might have this is a let's say a 15-year loan, but it's only fixed for the first 5 years, and then after the first 5 years, then the rate renegotiates or falls in where based on the going rate, different things like that. So you got very different terms for commercial, but if you understand it, you don't have to be accredited. There is a substantial capital raise. Like in the case of that $10 million deal, they're going to require at least probably 2.5 mil, if not 4. But it depends on the deal and depends on a lot of things. Depends on the economy too, and the type of commercial property that you're looking into. Like right now, if you went and tried to get office space for an example.
Did you see that video I sent you?
No, I didn't watch it yet.
It was exactly about that.
They might say, hey, yeah, we'll lend on this deal, but we're going to require 70% down. We'll lend the other 30%, but yeah, we'll lend on it.
Why is that?
Well, right now, office space is extremely risky because
Things are failing.
Zoom.
Well, because Zoom.
Everyone's working from home.
Yeah, everybody's working from home, so you don't have to go into the office.
Yeah.
So office space is really taking a beating where other kinds of commercial real estate like hotels or like apartment complexes, they're probably going to be just fine.
They'll be used forever.
Yeah.
Warehouse space for things like quick shipping, Amazon, satellite Amazon locations and things like that, they're going to keep doing great.
True.
Yeah, working from home is really, really wrecking the office space industry.
It's so nice, though. Oh,
Yeah.
I would never go back into the office.
Wish I could work from home.
I'll knock on wood here.
Yeah. Well, it's your choice. You're your own boss, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but if the circumstances changed to where it was beneficial to go into an office,
Yeah.
I suppose I would. But at this point, I hope that never happens.
Don't you have an office building like that you could go to,
Yeah.
but you just choose not to?
Yeah.
Nice. That's the way to go.
Wonder how many people they have working from home now. Or do they have them come back
Most
in the
everybody.
office?
No,
Most
there's-
everyone?
There are 3, maybe 4 people that work in the office.
This is out of a company of what, 40 people?
That's 60
60
to
people?
70.
Dang. Sorry. Dang.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a interesting question for you, if you're willing to answer it. When your clients come to you, what's the average? We'll say the average financial situation of your clients when they first come to you, and then what happens over time, depending on what they choose to do. Well, thank you for that exploding soda.
Shake and Coke.
Apologies.
What does your average client look like, we'll say? Are they more on the higher end? Are they more on the lower end? Just a
All
whole
over.
amalgamation of things?
All over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a grab bag.
Yeah. Do you have clients that are much better off than you that you
Some.
advise?
So,
Dang.
yeah.
Nice.
You mean regarding net worth?
Financially, net worth, yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
And question for you: we'll say one instructor to another. Do you ever get imposter syndrome talking to those people, or even talking to the other guys, where you're just like, well, I imagine especially at the beginning, where you're just like, man, am I even qualified for this?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
holy
yeah.
shit.
Oh yeah, I had imposter syndrome pretty bad in the beginning, but at the end of the day, it's like, look, they're here seeking your advice for a reason.
Yeah.
It's knowledge that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your net worth may not be what theirs is, your business experience may not be what theirs is, but they're coming to you for a specific reason.
Yeah.
They're that they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've overcome, the greatest majority of the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
because it's like, I really don't care what your net worth is. You've come to me.
Yeah. Let's get you a solid plan in place
Mhm.
for whatever net worth you got.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I noticed that not as much these days, but pretty bad when you first start instructing. You're just like, man, I wasn't, I mean, in my case, it's literally I was in that same chair a year ago or whatever.
Right.
But I imagine it's got a lot of similarities in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everybody has imposter syndrome to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Or to a degree until they can get past it, or
They put in the work.
yeah. But also something that and this is something that Luna, babe. Hi, baby.
You want to say hi?
Hi.
All right.
No, for a lot of people that I would talk to for a while there,
Mm-hmm.
I'd get going working on their case and thinking, oh, this is they're doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd have to step back and be like, oh, wait a minute, that's not all that That's not all that big.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. It was actually highly beneficial for me to build my spreadsheet out,
Mm-hmm.
list out all my assets and incomes and different things like that. That really shed some light and got rid of a lot of the imposter syndrome,
For sure.
because it was like, you know, so I'm telling people to put significant chunks of their money away. For some people, it's greater than their mortgage payment into policies each month. And, you know, it can be quite substantial. And it's just like, took inventory and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're doing that.
Yeah. Doing the same thing I'm preaching.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that changed things.
That's fair enough. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. No, really, but look at the imposter syndrome as, well, they're coming to you. They're coming to you for knowledge that they don't have.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody's expertise isn't in the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they might be a highly successful and expert in their field. They're still coming to you for what's in your head, you know. And so it doesn't, the imposter syndrome is more of you're comparing yourself to them.
Yeah.
And that should never,
Should never occur.
should never occur. It's
Mhm.
always compare yourself against you
Yeah. For sure.
and show up and provide the greatest degree of service possible for that individual.
Mm-hmm. Good lesson for the listeners. Question for you. So, with accredited versus non-accredited, non-accredited, they have less risk because they can put in less money, allegedly, but they would also, in that case, have less gains, correct? And so, with the
Are you talking about? Are you referring to a deal like we've been talking about, where it's primarily accredited investors going into it, or are you talking about in general?
We'll say in general, let's say real estate, you're going into it, you're not in a syndicate or anything, you're doing non-accredited, so you go buy a rental property, fix it, flip it, or
Mhm.
rent it out, versus syndicating on a larger project. Let's say even the amount of money is the same. You're putting in $100,000 in one, $100,000 in the other. I think the non-accredited investor that's not in the syndicate is going to be a lot more risky than the one that's syndicated with a lot of accredited investors as well, who kind of know what they're doing, done this before, all that. So I don't know. It just seems almost less risky once you get to be an accredited investor with higher gain potentials, depending on what it is, of course.
You know, it all comes down to doing your research on who you're doing business with. Because let's talk about Bernie Madoff for a minute. He was working with billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think a billionaire would know who they're dealing with and what they're doing, and a lot of them got taken to the bank because they were working with the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
They trusted the wrong person. So regarding returns, it's, I don't know that it's any safer or more risky. You're going to have risks in both scenarios. You buy a single family home with a sinking foundation and some severe groundwater issues, you're going to be hurting. If you get a nice property that rents well and shows well, and you have good renters and good managers, and you have it for a few years and you resell it and you have tremendous equity growth, you're going to make, potentially 40-50% annualized on your money, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about a syndicate, you're working with the wrong person who doesn't have a good reputation or doesn't know how to pick the deal that they're setting up. They underbid the job, they underbid the work, they over project on the prospectus. So you think you're going to get an incredible rate of return. The job goes longer than expected. The expenses are higher than expected, so you have no cash flow or low cash flow, and then they can't find a buyer for the deal or can't get the price out of the deal that they anticipated on their prospectus.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to walk away screwed.
Yeah.
So it really just education is key. One thing that I did a lot of, I really did a lot of research for about 5 years before I got into real estate, before I did my first real estate deal. And that was, I would have made a hell of a lot of money had I got in and just started doing real estate and not waited those 5 years. But at the same time, we've been tremendously blessed and tremendously successful in all of our real estate because, and I think in big part because of that education that I did ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. And when you say research and education, what did that look like for those 5 years?
A lot of that 5 years was building up capital. So I just didn't have the money to do the deals.
Yeah.
First of all, so while I didn't have money to do the deals, I was just researching real estate. I researched economics, researched demographics, like why would I want a rental property in Memphis, as an example? Why would I want it in Texas? Why would I want it in Florida? Why not in Detroit? Why not in Salt Lake? Why not in New York or California for that matter? And if you can't answer those questions, then either economics, demographics, or trends and cycles is missing. Because I can answer every one of those questions, right now real quick.
Yeah.
And so studying a lot of that stuff. I mean, economics and like an incredible book is Economics in One Lesson.
Sounds great.
It's an incredible book, and that was like, hey, somebody told me, said, hey, go read this book. You get this book under your hat, and you'll have a much better understanding of how and why and where to invest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that have to do with it? Well, it has a lot to do with it, turns out, because I can start answering some of these bigger or broader questions that that are important factors.
They ultimately filter down to your rental properties, essentially.
Yeah.
Economics in One Lesson.
Yeah. I think it's are you looking it up? I think it's Hazlitt or
Throw
Yeah,
that
it's
in my
Hazlitt.
wish list.
Hazlitt.
Henry Hazlitt.
Henry
Is
Hazlitt.
it on
That's the one.
Audible?
It is on Audible,
Heck yeah.
I believe.
Great book.
Yeah, it's on Audible.
One Lesson.
Heck yeah.
Beautiful.
And then, reading books like that, reading books like ABCs of Real Estate, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, reading Richest Man in Babylon. Those types of books,
Mm-hmm.
and then just start paying attention to trends, pay attention to what's going on in the world, what makes things tick. And I haven't batted 100% for dang sure.
Yeah.
If I did, I'd be 10 times more wealthy than I am right now.
Hey, me too.
But we have been very blessed, and we've had very few hard lessons
Mm-hmm.
since 2015 when we started investing in real estate.
How do you keep all that knowledge kind of like fresh? Because I know if you like read something, 4 years ago and you're not actually like applying it or using it, because because you said you've been researching for like 5 years before you got into real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you keep that fresh, like at the front of your mind the whole time without actually being in it and experiencing it?
I think that comes down to where my interests lie. So I get asked quite a bit, what's what financial advice would I give? And my financial advice is find something that you're passionate about and figure out how to monetize it. I happen to really I'm into real estate. Like I dig it. And so, and I'm fascinated with people and I'm fascinated with trends. And so because I'm interested in it, like I can read it years ago and I still remember the lessons because I'm deeply interested in it. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you read a book about sewing, I don't know if you're into sewing, I doubt it, but if you read a book about sewing, first of all, like how much attention are you even going to pay to it? Because it's so, I'm thinking of myself, but I'm like, I could give two shits less about sewing.
Yeah.
I care nothing about it. And so for me to even pick up a book about sewing would be painful.
Yeah.
And then to sit there and try to retain any of that information, good luck.
Yeah.
For me, right? But somebody else who might be passionate about sewing, they're absorbing it, they're soaking it up. It's just absolutely fascinating, almost like an experience to them. They're going to remember it.
I could see that. That's for sure.
So, I tell people this all the time. Real estate is not for everybody. I just happen to love it.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing financial consulting, which I also love tremendously, I would be doing something in real estate full time. Right now it's probably, I don't know, I'd say 70-30 maybe. But yeah, 70% doing financial consulting, 30% paying attention to the real estate trends and our own portfolio and things like that. So, and the bigger the portfolio gets, the more I'm going towards that. So,
what's your goal of? Do you have a goal of portfolio size, or net worth, or anything like that?
Or
does it just keep going?
Well, the horizon continues to get, like, how do I put this? Every time I reach a horizon or a goal, an objective, there's a new horizon.
Oh yeah.
And so, yes, I do. And my current goal and objective is very different than it was 5 years ago.
Tell us about that a little bit.
What do you mean?
So 5 years ago, what was your goal and objective? And then what is it now?
Yeah, 5 years ago, my goal was to get to $10,000 of cash flow in a month. And it's very different now.
And what's your goal going forward from now? Take this. Sorry. However,
my businesses have expanded. So I've got the insurance business, and then I've got the real estate. My goal is to have enough passive cash flow to very comfortably support my lifestyle and have enough left over to continue to expand my portfolio.
So basically, you're going to keep going. All right.
That's the plan. I don't ever plan to retire, but
Yeah.
why would I ever stop doing something I love?
Yeah, there's no reason to.
No. Now I do intend to, I don't want to say slow down. I do intend to change what I'm doing and have more free time, but I don't ever plan to stop working. Ever.
So just maybe not pursue things so aggressively then.
Yeah, but there again, See, even that's hard to say because what I just said was that I want enough to comfortably take care of our lifestyle
Right.
and have enough extra to keep growing our portfolio. But so maybe I want to back off from active work
Okay.
and just so back off from taking an active role in advising and things like that, and take on more of a passive role where I'm just managing our portfolio,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and work less hours a week, ultimately. You know.
So more investing and less being with clients.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Instead of dedicating 40 hours a week to to clients and servicing and all that stuff, I'd maybe like to back it off to, I don't know, maybe 2 days of client, taking care of clients, and maybe a day of portfolio management, and then 4 days, a 4-day week. So maybe a 3-day work week.
Yeah, which wouldn't be bad at all.
Yeah.
All right, I've got another question, which I think I know the answer to, but just to hear you say it. What if you just all of a sudden your passion changed and you just didn't like it anymore and you wanted to move on to something else, or you find something that you love more? Would you switch, even with all this time that you put into real estate and financial advising? What if you just weren't into it anymore?
Boy, that's a really good question.
Like a midlife crisis or something.
That's a really good question. So, would I? Yes, I would. And the reason for that is because I've had a midlife crisis, not so much in the middle of my life, and
Yeah.
nor how I was expecting it, but I had a midlife crisis of sorts. So I'm very, very clear on what's important and what's not important. And if I'm not passionate about it, if I don't love what I'm doing, it isn't worth doing. Period. So, and I don't want to be all crass or anything like that. I don't give a shit about the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like no amount of money is worth happiness. Because at the end of the day, you leave it all here anyway. Mm-hmm. So enjoy life. And I've told my kids this forever. Noah can vouch for this. I've always said, I really don't care what you do for your day job. Just make sure it's something you love, and always have something going on the side.
And take care of your duties.
Take care of your
Yeah,
duty.
man. Take care of your family.
Yeah, of course. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I got a wild hair and wanted to do something else, I would. It's not that I would stop what I'm doing. I would just do that also. I would maybe back off to a 3-day work week and pursue another passion.
Yeah. Do something else. Oh, yeah. And that's another good question. What's duties to you?
You asking him or me?
Both of you guys, actually.
All right. So I thought about this for quite a while, and you've got the pursuit of happiness today. That's the main goal in life, is like pursue what makes you happy. It's like, no. I like to that's everyone's like, oh, that's the meaning of life, is to be happy. And I'm like, no, I don't think
not.
so. Yeah. No, the meaning of life is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? We did okay. And so to accomplish that, you fulfill your duties in life as a husband and a father. You take care of your family, whatever that looks like, right? Whether you be a stay-at-home dad or you're a working dad, you take care of your family. You're there for your family. You don't let your job, your life consume you and take you away from the most important thing, which is raising the next generation. That's the whole basis of the morality of the human race, right? is new life and growing them up to be the best they can be. So,
If that's your pursuit.
right. Yeah, if you decide to have kids and a wife and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a choice you make. So
Yeah.
if you're going to make that choice, follow it through, right?
Correct. And that's the big thing. Follow through with your choices. That's the, we'll say, the basis of one's duty is following through with their choices, whatever the outcome may be,
Right.
and being able to look oneself in the mirror at the end of the day.
But wouldn't that be happiness? Because then you're happy with yourself.
It does create happiness,
Yeah, it creates happiness.
but it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be happy every second like
Yeah.
the world wants you to do, right?
Right.
The pursuit is happiness. No. The pursuit is
Something meaningful.
Yeah. The pursuit is the journey,
Yeah.
and the journey is what brings the happiness. You know, as a good book once said, "Journey before destination." That's a damn good book.
It's very good.
Would you say you would agree with that?
Yeah. What do you got to add?
Yeah.
Being a older and more refined gentleman, let's hear this.
Yeah, I would definitely say, it's not like the win isn't the destination. The destination isn't the win. The journey is the win. And showing up every day, playing all out, giving it all you got, regardless of what that pursuit is. If you make, like you say, if you make a commitment, see it through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually one of the reasons why I wouldn't just walk away from financial consulting, because when I take on a client, I commit to them to be there for them, and at least check in on them and make sure that they're taken care of, and any questions they have, any changes they need made, that's a commitment to them. So I'm in that for the long haul. So I wouldn't just walk away.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, I'm gonna back off on this, but I think I could probably condense the servicing of my clients to maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week, rather than spending it. Well, I don't service the clients for 5 days a week, but because I'm bringing on new clients and this and that and the other. So my week is spent, 40 hour work week is spent doing that, but it's not 40 hours servicing clients. So I could back off on some of that, or back off on all the other stuff and just service my clients. I could probably do that reasonably within maybe 2 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
Get your answer,
I think so. Yeah.
Jesse.
Hmm?
What is your? I want to hear the same question or the same answer. Not the same answer. Jesus Christ. Same question goes for you, because you've recently gotten into a committed relationship. You're looking into having kids. You've got a job and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose of it all? What are you doing?
The purpose of it all?
Yeah, or like, we
There's-
talked about the world pushing that happiness is the end goal.
I
are your
think I
thoughts?
fall more in line with what Jordan Peterson says, which is the pursuit of meaning. Find a responsibility and bear it. And then, take responsibility and don't just drop it. Follow through with your commitments. Take care of the people around you. Stuff like that. Nothing dramatically different from what you guys said.
Yeah, seems solid. Best thing I found so far. So then it
Yeah.
works. And again, you're not always happy, but
No.
It-
It's
at
it's
the
the
end of the
journey,
day,
like you said.
yeah, at the end
Well,
of the day, it's worth it.
Highs and lows.
The
Mhm.
purpose of life is to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Learning ain't always painless.
no, learning is not always painless. Well, if you look at the heartbeat on a machine, it goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
That's very reflective of life. Life, you'll have ups and downs, And, you're not going to love doing everything you do every single day of the week, regardless of what that occupation is, whatever, regardless of what it is that you're doing. There's always going to be some shit show sometimes. But find the joy in the journey.
Yeah. I mean, nobody likes doing their laundry.
Nobody likes paying taxes.
Nobody likes
Oh,
paying
God.
taxes.
I think we could probably just do away with paying taxes altogether and be okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm pretty sure we could do that.
I think we could figure it
That
out.
feels like a big fucking waste.
Yeah, and then you could purchase into things that you want to pay for.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah,
place you want to spend your money.
imagine that.
Imagine, and you know how much more efficient it would be
Yeah.
to have a paid service to do these things. Half of them, which we don't need.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. We better not go down that road, boys.
Nah, we won't. It's okay. It's okay. We won't. I think investor. Oh, I do want to wrap it around just a little bit back to accredited investors.
Okay.
With these deals, do they generally have better tax breaks, tax credits, things like that versus a non-accredited investor, or does it just depend? Depends on everything.
Depends on the deal. That, whether you're going to have tax breaks is more depending on the type of deal that it is. The government incentivizes people. The government incentivizes, for certain actions.
Mm-hmm.
Starting businesses, owning real estate. Those are things that the government wants you to do. And so because of that, they incentivize you to do it. Where a W-2 employee, they are fully exposed to all taxes. And people putting away in 401ks and IRAs are kept in the highest possible tax bracket their entire life, from cradle to grave. Business owners get tax breaks. Investors get tax breaks because those are activities that the government wants you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, probably I would venture to say probably 60+% of the population, 60 to 70% of the population plus, will not think outside the box. They will not do anything other than be a W-2 employee, which is a massive revenue stream for the government.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, those individuals will always be in the highest possible tax bracket their entire life.
Yeah, 1099 contractor without a business is also very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not the highest tax bracket, though.
for sure. Now, I'm not saying that I don't pay out the ass in taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, quite literally, I set aside 35% of my profits for taxes in a business. It's excruciating,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of things that I can write off as business expenses that a W-2 employee can't write off.
For sure. Yeah, W-2s don't have any write-offs besides, like, child tax credit
Correct.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
Standard deduction.
Yeah. So, as a wealth strategist, are you beginning to see? I know you're not a CPA, but are you beginning to see and learn how the wealthy are able to pay so little in taxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Because I make income from insurance.
Mhm.
That's so I've got my insurance business. That's a source of income, and then we've got real estate. That's a source of income. So as an example, I pay through the nose for the insurance business because that's all earned. That's all earned or active income,
Mhm.
right? Earned income.
But
That's
it's
what they
a
would call it.
business. Don't you have write-offs to go against those? Or
Yeah, I do.
still anything you can't write off, you're toast.
Yeah. So any profits are just exposed to brutal taxes,
It really
35%.
sounds like you need a new work truck instead of
I know.
paying taxes.
I know. I gotta.
Like,
I
can't you just do that?
Well, yeah, to an extent. However, I work from home, and so
Yeah, that'll make it hard.
how
Can't
how
you
do I?
rent your office from yourself?
Yes, I do,
Okay.
but that I can only write off a percentage of the expenses of the home, and that percentage is based on how much my office takes up of the home.
Oh. Sounds
that
like
make
you
sense?
need a bigger office.
Yeah, I would either need a massive office, but that would put the entire family in a 10 by 10 room, which would be
Yep.
kind of tough, or I gotta get with not my CPA, because I've talked to my CPA. I need to get with a
His
tax
CPA.
strategist. Well, there's tax strategists and then there's CPAs. A CPA will do your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
A tax strategist actually looks for ways to
Save you taxes.
save you taxes.
That's cool.
So based on the clobbering I got last year, 2022, it's time to look for a and the clobbering that I'm in for 2023.
It's time to find a tax strategist.
Yeah, my quarterlies are brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I pay taxes a lot of different ways. So we pay taxes, I'm talking income taxes. This is just income taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I pay income taxes because I'm an employee of my own company. So I'm a W-2 employee of my own company, right? So I pay taxes there anytime, like on my monthly salary. And then I pay quarterly taxes based on what I paid last year. Based on the taxes that I paid last year, I take a quarter of that and I pay that each quarter. And then at the end of the year, anything that's left over, I pay taxes on it. So here's the thing is, and this is kind of a misconception. It's not that the wealthy people don't pay their ass off in taxes. It's that they pay a smaller percentage of their wealth in taxes than a W-2 employee.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So pay through the nose on earned income. Now let's switch over to portfolio income, rental properties, and other investments. I made some investments last year that were an instant dollar for dollar write-off. Or it's not a write-off necessarily. What they call it is what do they call it? What's the technical term for it? It's like a forward loss credit. So basically they're saying, basically if I make a $100,000 investment, depending on the type of deal that it is, again, the government incentivizes you to make certain investments. So if I put $100,000 in an investment that the government wants me to put money into, then they say, hey, you have a credit. You basically have a depreciation carry forward. And so any portfolio income, any passive income can be a direct write-off against this carry forward loss. So if I put $100,000 in this investment, I'm actually investing $100,000, but the government is giving me an immediate $100,000 credit against any revenue from passive activity. So we paid zero taxes on any rental income last year because that's passive income, and I had a carry forward loss that just said, hey, that just cancels it out.
Mm-hmm. Does that carry forward for a certain number of years, or is that until
Indefinitely.
that's out? Until that 100,000 or whatever is gone?
Mm-hmm. Indefinitely. So
Damn, what's this investment? I'm just kidding.
it was a mobile
Sweet.
home park. It was a syndicate.
Wow, and that was a dollar for dollar credit. That's nice.
Dollar for dollar credit, yeah. So
Yeah.
so quite literally, that means that we could sell one of our other properties if we wanted to,
Yeah.
and instead of paying capital gains on a massive chunk,
Mm-hmm.
it would go against that carry forward loss. Right now we're sitting on a $250,000 carry forward loss.
That'll keep you happy for a few years as far as your passive portfolio goes.
Yeah, so that goes against capital gains, that goes against revenue, like rental revenue, that goes against any of that stuff.
And that is just against income coming out of your portfolio.
Yes. I can't it doesn't go against the active income.
W-2 income.
W-2 or from my active
Business.
business. So whether I'm taking W-2 income, because with a company, I can take W-2 income, right? I take a salary, and then I also can take owner draws because it's my company. I can take owner draws. It's taxed a little bit different, but it's still, it's still considered active income. So you got active income and portfolio income. So a while ago, well, I don't even know I don't want to give specifics because I can't be exact on it. But anyway, Trump, for example, he's got a massive real estate portfolio. He's paying $1 million in taxes or whatever. $1 million in taxes, which is way more than the average individual is ever going to make, or not ever going to make, but going to make. And especially in a year, right? So he's like, hey, I'm gonna pay $1 million in taxes, but he has tax write-offs and tax, and depreciation on his properties and all these other things of like $100 million. So what he would have actually had to pay if he didn't have all these things that the government incentivizes would be substantially more or a greater portion of his portfolio, which is, so when they're saying tax the rich, the rich pay all the fucking taxes. Okay? Poor people don't pay taxes anyway, period. And anything that they do pay, they get back in a tax return. So that's a bunch of fucking bullshit, in my opinion. Am I allowed to swear on this place?
Yeah.
You're good.
I've been holding my tongue, right?
You're good.
Go off.
But and so the rich pay an assload in taxes, but $1 million, if Trump writes a check for $1 million to the government, compared to the size of his portfolio, it's a very small percentage versus an individual who, making $50,000 and having to pay $5,000 in taxes. That's 10% of their wealth that year.
Yeah.
Where Trump might be paying $1 million on $100 million. So he's paying 1% of his portfolio income, where somebody making $50,000 of W-2 income might be paying 10% of their active income. So, but yeah, so it's.
Yeah, like Elon paying the biggest tax bill in history when he sold his Tesla shares to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. But compared to his portfolio,
yeah, whatever.
yeah, it's whatever. But still, it's way more than the low income individual is ever going to pay, ever in their lifetime.
Because I know in, say, the cash flow game by the Rich Dad Poor Dad company, you can invest in certain things, much like you said, that go against your taxable income, we'll say. But that's assuming you are in the business quadrant or investor quadrant.
Yeah.
Not the employee quadrant.
Correct.
Interesting. So for the average employee, any W-2 income, you can't really do much as far as taxes go with that at all.
Nope.
Has to be outside of that.
Yeah, and even me as a business owner,
Yeah.
like a W-2 employee, they get FICA and Social Security and all that.
Yeah.
As an owner, and especially as like a business owner and the employee of my own business, I pay both sides of that. So where you guys might see 7.5% taxes for Social Security and Medicare and all that stuff, I don't know about Medicare, but Social Security and FICA and all that stuff, I see both sides of it. I pay 15%. And your employer matches what you're doing. They pay 7.5%, and you pay 7.5%.
Is that just for like Social Security and things like that, or is that your tax bill as well? They match that?
No.
The whole tax bill?
No.
Okay. I was under the impression that it was the whole tax bill, not just
So is that.
like Social Security and whatnots.
No.
Interesting.
No, but
That's still a lot, though.
Because you think about it, an employee's wage is a business owner's write-off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a direct expense
Yeah.
for the business. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you ask, what does a business write off? Well, the business writes off a ton of stuff. If they couldn't write off all the wages that they pay as business expenses, their income would be astronomical.
Yeah. That's true.
So, but yeah, I mean, I do write off travel. I write off meals. It has to be legitimate
For business, yeah.
insurance. Like things that have to do with the business. I can't just willy-nilly write everything off. Can't write groceries off. I'd love to, but that doesn't work that way. So it has to be legitimate business expenses.
Unless your whole family was employees. You could write off groceries. It'd be hard, though.
That would be really, really gray and not somewhere I would be willing to go personally.
Sketchy.
I know.
Oh yeah.
I know people who are writing off fucking everything.
Yeah.
And that's
A lot
crazy.
of people do, but if they get audited, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And I'd just rather keep
taxes,
my nose
fees.
clean and
yeah.
keep it clean.
So why are you an employee of your own company?
That's a really good question. The chances of being so depending on how you file your taxes, you are more or less likely to get audited. So as an S corp, you're less likely to get audited than an LLC or a partnership or a sole proprietor. And then on top of that, if what my CPA advised, he said take about half of the income as a W-2 employee, pay your FICA, pay all those taxes, and then you can justify doing about another half in owner draws. And then on top of that, I have a lot of business expenses that like contributions to the life insurance policy. It comes out besides those. I actually don't ever take owner draws. It's just, I just take my W-2 income and then the rest goes into policies, but it would still be considered owner draws, and so it's still taxable, and it's not a business expense. I wish it were. I wish I could write it off as a business expense, but it's not. I can't do that, so I still get taxed through the nose for it.
Gotcha.
So, but the best way to beat taxes is earn another dollar.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid of making money because they're afraid to pay taxes. Like, fuck that. If I can pay $1 million in taxes, that means I'm making a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that a lot, and it's just like, you guys have it all wrong. You're just playing small.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to make that much money because I don't have to pay it all in taxes. Bullshit. Fucking make enough that you can toss the government their bone. I mean, one way or the other, you either throw them the bone or they're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
either way, make enough that you can give them their money and still live a very comfortable life.
Up
Flip 'em off
to-
and go on with your day.
Up
Yeah.
to $24 million if you're married, so you can hand all that off, tax free, state
No,
taxes. After
estate?
after that it's taxed half, isn't it?
Something like that. It's pretty gross. But if you
Yeah.
got that kind of money, you're working with attorneys
Oh yeah,
and gonna get that out of your estate before it ever becomes an issue.
for sure.
I
That's
just worked with a client
who had that issue.
who had that issue, and we're gonna save them millions on a state transfer.
Hell yeah.
Badass.
That's cool.
Well, follow-up
That
question
felt
on
good
that.
too. It's like, yeah, you know.
yeah.
And it's not. I mean, again, you're not doing anything nefarious or illegal. This is all legal stuff, and you're just playing by the rules. Like Trump said to what's her name, Hillary,
Yeah.
because she's like, oh yeah, this and this and this, and he said, well, what did he say? Yeah, I take advantage of it, and so do all your donors. Quit fucking belly aching. If you don't like the system, if you don't like the game, change the rules of the game. You do for everything else, but you won't do it. And he called her out right there. He said, but you won't do it because all your donors take advantage of the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Crockett, little bitch.
So, follow-up question on that: How would one manage their estate, or what are some potential ways of going about it if you were to have a net worth of over 24 million with a spouse to hand down to your kids? Do you just create a company that's in your kid's name and like?
There's trusts, and there's different kinds of trusts. There are lots of different kinds of trusts, lots of different ways to move assets around so that they get out of your estate before
You pass
before
on.
it's valued at that rate, and before you pass on.
So it's not as soon as you hit that 24 million mark, then everything after that's taxed at half. It's after you die, and then it's valued and passed on.
When you die, yeah. So a lot of people with that kind of wealth, they start moving it out of their names. They start moving assets out of their names.
Mm-hmm.
And you can and there's ways to control the wealth without being without owning it.
Yeah.
Control it. You can control it and do what you want with it, and still not own it. Then it's still not taxable to you, or it's not taxable to your estate.
Mm-hmm. I look forward to having that problem. We'll figure
Me
that
too.
out later.
Me too. I do not have that problem yet, but I look forward to it.
Yep. Seems like a fun problem to have.
And I plan on having that problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be rich and it's hard to be poor. Choose your heart.
Yeah. I would way rather be rich.
Oh no, where do I put all this money? Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. It's
Instead of how do I get my next meal?
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. We're very blessed. We're very blessed. We live a comfortable, modest life. I mean, we're not extravagant. Our cars are, what are they? They're 2016s.
You have a nice car though.
Yeah, it's a nice car, but it's paid for. We had a loan on it, and we paid for it for years, and it's paid for, and there's no reason to buy a new one.
There's nothing. It's not insane, crazy.
What's that?
I said it's not insane, crazy.
No.
I'm just saying, yeah, like
No.
for the
Could
viewer.
buy something more expensive, but you don't need it. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I say we live a modest life. I mean, we live in an average home, and that's okay.
Yeah. It is a sweet home.
It's interesting. The older I get, the less stuff matters to me. Like, I have no intention. It's not that I won't do it, but I have no intention of buying another European sports car. My next car will probably be a Hyundai. I just don't really care that much anymore. As long as it does what I want it to do. And that to me, that's important to me. And I want all the whistles and bells. I mean, all the whistles and bells. I want it comfortable. I want it to get up and go and not fucking be a turtle off the line or when I'm in traffic. I want it to move, right? I don't like, anyway. So as long as it does those things, I really don't care what the price is. I don't really care what the name is.
Sounds like you need a BMW M5
Yeah.
I may need a BMW M5.
because those pretty fucking nice, and it's got everything you want.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually do like BMWs quite a bit.
They look very good, yeah. I don't know that you'd like the M series as much because it's got like only 2 seats in the back instead of 3, I think.
Oh, really?
But probably taking too many more than you and the wife by that point, you know,
Yeah.
for the most part.
You know, interesting. I was having the thought the other day. I don't know why, but I was having the thought the other day that I would really like. I may want one of those new Corvettes, new style Corvettes.
The ones that look like a Lambo almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ferrari.
Or a Ferrari, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, and the thought came to me as like, but I want to pay cash for it. That'd be fun. Or be like, hey, do you take American Express?
I want some points. And then just go
No, wouldn't
cash
that be
on.
fun?
That would be fun.
That would just be fun. It would just be like, hey, I want that car, and I'm gonna pay cash for it.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be a big flex.
It would just be fun to me.
Yeah, walking with a cashier's check. That's the car I want. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know that it'll ever happen, but I don't know. They are pretty. They're good looking.
Yeah.
I'd need somewhere to put it though.
a garage.
Yeah, but our little 2-car garage only fits 2 cars.
Yeah, so you'd have to have that as your daily driver. Boo-hoo. It's going to lose value quick anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Are they
Depends
all-wheel
on
drive?
which one you buy.
Are they all-wheel drive? Anybody know?
That's a good
Corvettes.
question.
I doubt
Look
it.
it
doubt
up right now.
They're
It's
not very
Corvettes?
good summer or winter cars.
Yeah, I was gonna say
From what I've
winter,
heard.
you'd struggle.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But if it was all-wheel drive, I'd drive that all winter.
Yeah.
I drive my Audi all winter, and it's a low profile.
Yeah. Well, if you're wanting a all-wheel drive that'll probably have the same get up and go or very similar, BMW M5
BMW
will get you
M5?
there.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
aren't all Audis 4-wheel drive or all-wheel?
I don't know. I thought most of them were.
I thought, yeah.
Corvette.
Because I see a lot of those in the winter, but I don't see a lot of like
Corvettes.
no sports cars like
Yeah.
BMW or BMWs, yeah, but like not Corvettes or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. No, the Corvette, the new electric Corvette is all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm not into the electric thing.
It looks like it's a hybrid. Not all of them. Let's see.
Yeah, well, that
So-
would be kind of fun.
Okay, so the
I know people who have done that with
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
fairly expensive cars. It was like, oh yeah, I just went and paid cash for it. Go you. That's fucking badass.
Yeah.
it looks like this gas electric hybrid is their first all-wheel drive version of the Corvette.
Okay, so that wouldn't be terrible then.
Yeah.
With a 6.2 liter V8.
That'd be badass.
Oh yeah.
Come on, you don't want 16 supercars like Andrew Tate?
No. No.
What do you gonna do with those? You just like walk out? Ah, these are all depreciating. Beautiful. Walk back
Ridiculously.
in.
Yeah.
Some of them get more expensive, depending on which ones you get.
Yeah.
But
No, I wouldn't. I'm not. That's not my thing.
I mean, he's on house arrest. He can't even use them anyway.
Yeah.
Just starts
Add
them up.
insult
Yeah.
to injury.
Turn them off. Dig it.
Well, especially with things mechanical, it's like if you don't use it, it dies.
Yeah. So, all right. So, your choice of car in the future, what could you actually see yourself purchasing? That Corvette?
Mhm.
Anything else?
I want a truck. I mean, I've got a pretty badass truck, but I'd like a new.
One with massaging seats?
Yes.
Oh.
I'd like a new
That's
Ford.
my goal.
They have those?
Yeah.
Dude, heated massaging seats is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
well, those new ones, the shifter knob folds down too, so you can lay, and it all lays flat, so you can lay across it, like the center console all lays
Really?
down flat. Yeah, that's cool.
In the
I don't know if they're Fords, but we have them at work sometimes. They have room for the shifter knob to lay down, so you can like lay it
That's
out
sweet.
like a bed. They're cool.
that's sweet. But yeah, I love the F350s. They're They're so freaking gorgeous.
They get up and go too.
They do. They move. So,
Um,
so yeah, I would like one of those. I don't know when, but
yeah.
maybe, maybe when we travel across the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, nice
May do that.
camper.
Yeah.
I
That's why we bought that one though. Like,
yeah, to
set
travel
up-
across the U.S.
oh yeah, I fully intend to.
Hell yeah.
Probably when I back off a little bit from
Yeah.
from working so many days and just
And what's the time horizon on that? What's your goal?
5 years or less.
Hell yeah.
Right on.
You're done.
When you guys do that, are you gonna sell your house and
No.
go? You keep the house, keep paying on it, and go.
Yeah.
Maybe Airbnb it or something, or rent it
Maybe.
out, whatever.
Well, I don't know. At least for the first little while, I think we'd probably go for a few weeks, come home. Maybe
Yeah.
go for a month, come home. Maybe maybe
Mhm.
on the outside 2 months, 3 months, and come home.
Yeah,
So, I definitely don't want to lose a home base.
for sure.
And the other thing, like, I could be gone a hell of a lot longer than Mom.
Mhm.
Than Holly.
Yeah.
She's way more attached to home than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so
That's fair.
yeah. So anyway, we'll definitely have a home base.
Cool. You think you'd ever like downgrade your home base?
Yeah.
It's like make it smaller and nicer. You don't, as kids move out and everything.
Yeah, I still feel like the size of home that we have, I feel like is comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we need anything bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it is definitely squishy with as many people as we have in the house. But
But you're only gonna
that-
get less and less.
yeah, I mean, like within 5 years, I figure within 5 years, there's a high probability we'll be empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, a house this size is massive for 2 people.
Yeah.
I mean, 3,000 square foot. How could you even need that much space? But yeah, I may have. I do expect that when we, like, I don't know, maybe when we're 60, 70 years old, to like
Mhm.
downsize into a townhome or something. Or I don't know.
Senior community.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, those
I
are
mean,
actually really nice.
I would like a house at least this size for the foreseeable future. Let's say the next 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to be you kids are going to be coming over a lot with your grandkids, and we want there to be enough space for everybody
Mm-hmm.
to be comfortable, not on top of each other, and have a nice comfortable space. And that's not really something you can do in a little townhome.
Yeah.
But when we're 60, 70 years old, then it's possible that we might be getting together at like you kids' homes a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot less of the entire family coming to our home. So I don't know. We'll just see as it evolves. But
Yeah.
I definitely see the possibility of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
We'll about wrap that up. Talked about lots of stuff. Hope you listeners got something good out of it.
Hell yeah.
They usually do.
That's a good
Awesome.
time.
Well,
Appreciate you having me.
yeah, of course. Come on anytime. Literally, it's a blast every time. Talk about.
Mhm.
I could hear about whole life and all the intricacies of it for a long time, and why Universal's bad and all this other jazz. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we'll see the listeners next week, and hopefully have on another guest.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, absolutely.
See you
guys.
later.
Bye.